Oh my gosh, just needed a little bit of refresh to make it happen. All right, can everybody hear me and see me? Let me know in the chat. Sorry for that. What was that? That was like a 7 minutes of... Okay, cool. Thanks everybody for your patience, for your flexibility. Today's going to be super fun. I hope everybody had a really great week. Oh my gosh. I just love Fridays. Oh my gosh. How's everybody doing? Wicked. Yeah, I was super wicked, Teresa. Oh my gosh. All right, welcome. If this is your first growth group, can you please put in the chat that this is your first growth group? And for some reason, if you get booted out of the growth group because your internet somehow just zaps out or something, then you can rejoin really quick just by refreshing your browser and hit that join button. So don't worry if you get lost. Michelle, what's up? Welcome. It's your first one. Thank you for joining. And let's go. Everybody's doing good. Sherry's here. Oh, awesome, Sherry. Thanks for joining. And really cool. Okay, so before we get started, how many people are watching this from, if you're on the web or if you're on mobile, put in the chat where you're viewing this from real quick. Just let me know where you're viewing this from. And I'm viewing this right now. I'm on my web experience. And I will be recording this session just so if anybody wants to rewatch the training and go back to it, we'll have plenty of time to do that. So no biggie. Mobile, awesome. Mobile, iPad. Ooh, cool. iPad. Okay, a lot of people are on mobile, which is cool because we just released this really cool new feature in the app. And if you all don't, why am I talking about the real app? So hello everybody, I'm Drew Bridewell. I'm head of product and design here at GrowthDay. Been so privileged to work on this app since the very beginning, and we have a couple of our teammates here. Even one of our senior product owners is also on the call, Lauren. So Lauren, say hi in the chat too. Lauren's one of our lead product managers. She's helped build all this and helped lead and make it come to life. It's so cool. Oh, Sherry, so cool so cool. All right, but anyway, the coolest thing about this is today we're going to be focused on a couple things that literally have just absolutely changed my life when it comes to just performance and performance management. You know, I've had the privilege and honor to work at some of the, what I think, and they also were all unicorns to a certain degree. Like we got LinkedIn.com, Facebook, Lynda.com, Envision. These are all billion-dollar companies, and I've just gotten the opportunity to watch the CEOs of these companies, the leadership team of these companies, and watch what worked and what didn't work. Also, when I was at Envision, I was flying around the country learning about these sorts of rituals, routines, and habits for product and designers. And if you aren't familiar with a product and designer because you're in a completely different discipline, product and designers are just the makers that think up product ideas, and they help execute product ideas. They help build apps and websites and different products and services. It could even be just the physical device could be a product design operation thing. But everything that you see, making something come to life is just where I've been really focused for my entire career. But the practices and the traits and the things that I'm going to talk to you today about apply to any career. They apply to any discipline. So when you go through and you're like, wow, what are my rituals? What are my routines? I want you to kind of reset and think about well, am I designing these things or am I letting them be designed for me? And the whole key of this is for you to be able to architect and you be able to design the rituals and routines and habits that serve you. Because it's about serving you. It's not about you just consuming other people's life routines and the things that maybe don't really serve you. So, which is cool because in GrowthDay, you can design all these things and you can start practicing them week over week, day over day, month over month, year over year, and you can get better at them every single time you show up. So we're going to talk about that, and hopefully that's resonating with you. I'm just checking the chat, checking. All right. Cool. Yes, this is great. Okay. Thank you, Sherry. All right, so the first one that I'm gonna lay down 6 of these for you right now. And I went ahead and posted it in the agenda, but I'm still, just so we all stay on track, we're gonna kind of talk at these at the same route. And I want you to feel free as well, because this is a growth group, right? You can raise your hands, you can ask questions. If you have like just anything that you're trying to make this relatable, or you're trying to figure that out, like put it in the chat and we can figure it out together. We'll talk about all these things. So the first thing that I want to talk about is design and product excellence. Now, I know you're probably like, I'm not a designer, I'm not a product maker. Like, why does this even matter? Well, I think inside of your discipline, whether you're, a stay-at-home parent, whether you're a teacher, an educator, whatever industry you're in, you have certain things that you're doing on a regular basis to make your business work, to make your business tick, to make your business successful. Or whether you're not in business, maybe you're retired. Well, what are the things that you're doing to generate excellence in the things that you're making? Now, for me, I think about design and product excellence because, well, what makes a product valuable? Well, it needs to serve a need. It needs to solve problems. It needs to make your life a little bit better in some way. Whether you're ordering from DoorDash and you want that food to come to you, that's a service, right? Whether you're wanting to do your taxes online this year and you want to work with a professional, you want to see like where everything is located. Whether you're working with Google Docs and you want to know where all your docs and your sheets and everything, like all of these services that we experience every single day have the opportunities to serve us. And when I think about the excellence, it's like, well, what does that even, what does that feel like? So when we thought about building GrowthDay and we thought about building this product, you go through a coaching seminar with Brendan and you go through this, these 12-week, 16-week coaching sessions, you start to see like, wow, I'm going to get so much more intentional about the things that I want and the things that I desire and the things that I need to like improve. And then you start kind of pulling back the curtain and looking at all your habits. You're looking at the things that you're doing, the way that you're interacting with people, the way that you're maybe identifying with yourself. Like, I am like, what kind of person do you want to be when you show up? You're thinking about like, what are my priorities? What is my purpose? What are the things that I want to do? Like product and design excellence to me is like understanding what are all the elements that are necessary for a business and for a product to be successful, and knowing those first and knowing what those are, but then starting to build the practices and the disciplines every single day and every single week and every single month that will serve the greater purpose. And then last week I was talking about the growth loop. Now the growth loop is something that like I tend to do on a weekly basis, this that really know like, okay, what are the things I need to tap into every single week? If you didn't get to see that, I'm going to repost that in the community. We're building a section in the community inside of the app right now. So literally, if I was to go over into the community, you would see, all the subjects and topics, and then every single day people are posting inside the community, which is amazing. It's so cool in there. You can learn about routines. You can learn about, new things. And then Sherry posts every single day a post about the daily fire. It is like an amazing summary if you haven't yet checked it out. And you can see a little fire image that she uses. And it's really helpful to get a summary of and a self-reflection from Sherry, but also learn, what is a captured write-up from Brendan. It's so amazing. So amazing. I've been looking at. I look at it every single day because she also posts it for the internal team to see, which is amazing. Thank you so much for that. All right. So, okay, great. I'm just kind of following along. So, seeking and generating design and product excellence. So, think about for you, like, what are the things that you're trying to do, like right now, like some of your biggest goals, whether you put them inside of the growth profile. So if I was to go to the growth profile, and right now if you're on web or mobile, we have this new thing called the GG mini player, the growth group mini player. And what this allows you to do is it allows you, and I'm going to share my screen and show you really quick. I think you're going to love this. So right now I'm sharing my screen and I know you're seeing, but I can go over to my profile. And as you see now, I'm still in the GrowthDay app. I am still inside, and you can see the mini player down the very bottom left. And I know it's probably small on your screen, especially if you're on a mobile screen and you click over to your profile. It goes into like kind of a small, like kind of like FaceTime video experience. So you now have the way to still see, what's happening and what's going on inside there. So let me scroll down and see. Yeah. So I'm seeing like, I can still see the chat and see what I'm doing, but if you're on web, you have a little bit more real estate and a more view of what you can see. And we can still see the agenda and we can still see the notes, which is really cool. All right, I'm going to come back to you. So inside of the growth profile, we were just talking about like product and design excellence. So in my mind, and when we start thinking about product and design excellence, like think about what your excellence would be in your industry. And I know that can just be open up a whole can of worms, but start thinking about like, well, what does that even look like? What is the quality of the thing that you have it? And quality can go in a lot of different ways, and it's something new that I have to experience every single time I switch from one company to another company, or transition from one relationship to another relationship, and I'm building new friendships. Every single friendship that you create, or every single collaboration that you have with one teammate or a different team, everybody has a different quality bar. Like if you haven't heard of like quality bars, you're thinking like, here, let me stop sharing my screen for a second just so you don't see this whole thing. But like, what is the quality bar in your life and your reference for around the things that you think are excellent? And striving for excellence isn't like a bad thing, but it just depends on the type of individual and the way that you want to show up. So when I'm thinking of design and product excellence, I'm thinking about like a high quality of a product that doesn't have a lot of bugs, a product that really feels fluid when you use it, an experience that is really supportive and encouraging and has the things that you need at your fingertips, like one click away and you can get to the thing that you wanted to do. And I remember going through and starting to think about like what was good quality, was a good quality product when I first was working at Lynda or working at these other companies. And I'm like, well, what is good and what is great and what does excellent even look like? And that's something that can be discussed with your team. That's something that can be discussed, with even your family. Like what is, in your household, what is world-class or what does excellent communication even look like in your family? There's all different ways to slice this, but just having the conversation about it is a great first step. So generating design and product excellence is something that I end up creating routines every single week to make sure that I'm operating towards this. So I will go into my plan. So if I go over to my plan, and you can go into your plan right now. Let me go over to my plan. And inside my plan, I have basically let me share my screen again so you can see this. So inside my plan, I have this October intention. So like in a previous growth group at the beginning of last week, we did an October intention planning about like things that I'm maintaining. Here, I'm gonna make my screen a little bit bigger for you. Things that I'm maintaining, things that I'm advancing, and things that I'm starting. And then I also was looking at like, well, the things that I'm maintaining, healthy workout habits and cooking routines, weekly growth group sessions with all the strivers, team rituals and routines, is maintaining those and making sure that each meeting and flow that we have designed in our schedule and our calendar, like those block times, that they're actually serving a purpose, right? It doesn't make sense to have meetings or block time in your calendar if you don't follow it and if you don't actually like operate in a way where you're kind of calibrating, was this meeting beneficial? Was this meeting or this block time allocated well? And I think it's like you'll get to a point, if you're striving for excellence, when you're thinking about like, well, could I have spent this time a little bit differently? Yes or no? And then if I could have, like, what would have been a better use of my time? Like, am I spending 3 hours doing this one thing versus 1 hour doing the thing that I really love? How can you kind of course correct that a little bit? What could you do to make that happen? And I think to myself about these things, and these are the elements that like really just like can set you up. So the things that you're maintaining, that's going to also help. The things that you're advancing, so if I go back here, I'm going to move my mini player out of the way so I can see this. And you can even see that some people are joining still. And even for the things that I'm advancing, this goes back into the product and design excellence, like things that we're creating, things that we're reflecting on and training. Looks like I didn't have a C. And things that we're learning and growing. And those are another initiative where I'm thinking and we're just literally talking about the very first thing right here, which is just generating design and product excellence, like building systems and routines that really serve you. Same thing for starting. Like, we have new things that we're building for our enterprise customers. We have new things that we're building for the strivers, like all of you, that allow you to jump from, these sessions from session to session when you're in a growth group. And then there's a lot of other things that we're building right now to help serve you in the long run. And then I'm also preparing a lot of handouts and deliverables for. I'm teaching a workshop for my son's school. It's an agile learning center. So every week I'm doing like a workshop and teaching them like basically a 0 to 1 roadmap of design and building products and services. And I've already found out a lot of them want to be YouTube stars. So I'm teaching them like how to plan a little bit for that. So I'm preparing a lot of handouts and things for that. And then I'm also making a playbook for product and designers that they can use as reference and guidance. So all of these things, right, are serving my overall like excellence model. But again, you have to set that bar for what that is and what that looks like. All right, I'm going to move on to number two, because I know this is a lot of stuff, right? Let me come back to you. I'm going to stop. Oh, nope. Don't want to do that. All right, I'm back. Go back to full screen. All right. So remember, on number one, like generating design and product excellence is thinking about the systems and routines that you create, like for example, scheduling your whole week, blocking those times out so you can actually go in and think about, well, what does excellent look like in each of these different categories? And if you're a visual learner and you need visuals for this, I have like artifacts for this, but in this growth group, it's not necessarily like designed to share like images. But if you are curious to learn a little bit more about that space, I would love to just send you some artifacts that you can look at to see if they stimulate you to think about like how you could look at this in a different way. All right, number two. Let's see, I'm just checking through. You know what? There was a really good question in here. I just want to address it really quick. Amberine, so sometimes it is a feel like there is a feeling if you're in a big corporation and the leader's not willing to change the status quo of what you're doing. I've experienced this too, and it's like it can be a really challenging thing. But the first step around that, and I'm gonna just make a quick little suggestion, take it or leave it, no harm, no foul. But the first thing that you are responsible for is yourself. So even if your employee or your employer, sorry, not your employee, you're the employee. If your employer or your manager or your CEO is operating at a level that is a little lower than what you'd imagine or you'd expect or what you desired and what you dreamed of, that doesn't mean that you lower to their status quo. What you can do is continue raising the bar and elevating yourself in that environment. And the same thing I've told my son this too, because in the past we've moved around, we've traveled quite a bit, and we're now in North Carolina. But the thing is, he's been in environments where the community and the environment is operating at a basically at a way that our family just doesn't really agree with. It's a little bit, I could use the word maybe a little bit more negative, a little bit not supportive. And just because like the surrounding, on any team that you join or any environment that you're surrounded on, it doesn't mean you lower your vibration to that status, what the status quo is of that team. What you can do is know that you can operate at a higher level, and you just slowly maintain that, you consistently maintain your higher level, and then slowly start introducing and testing your methods, your systems, your routines with the rest of the team as you grow in leadership in the organization. Now, if you don't want to deal with that inside the organization, then you can look for other opportunities to go to a company that really believes in your leadership abilities, and then you can go be a leader somewhere else. I felt like when I joined Facebook, that was kind of my mentality, because I had heard a lot of things from my friends that would say, like, why are you going to Facebook? Like, isn't it like a toxic environment? I'm like, that's not my experience with the people that I know that work there. And I thought that when I went there, I could be a supportive energy, and come in and really help grow and develop people. And I still wanted to stay true to who I was. And I think every team is different. So I think when you go in and you step into these shoes, like, you are responsible for the energy that you bring into the room. And even when people want to take you a different route, that's the hardest thing to do, is stay true to yourself. But it's also like, you come back in here to Growth Day and we'll support you every step of the way, because your voice matters, your energy is important. And stepping into those moments, it shows a lot of courage and influence to be able to do that. So I want to root for you to do that. So I will send some artifacts. I love sending artifacts. The best way right now, if you do want some artifacts, just find me on LinkedIn, because I can message them there. I can't even send messages right now in the community chat. So just connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll send you images through there, because it's super easy. All right. Moving. Yes, the energy cannot be tamed. I love that. It's so funny. All right, let's keep going. We're going a little bit behind. All right, the next one is seek clarity and integrate. So why is this a routine that matters? Well, one of the things that, like, I was just doing in this workshop yesterday, I was teaching three 10, 11-year-olds about clarity. Like, how do you explain clarity to a 10 and 11-year-old? And I promise this will be relevant, because clarity is something, like, through finding the, it's one of the high performance habits from Brennan's book. So if you haven't read that book, High Performance Habits, would encourage you to do that. And if you haven't read it in a couple years, go reread it. And we also have a course for this in the library. So this is so cool that I can just share my screen now. I love the mini player for this. But if I was to go to the Learn experience, and go to the courses, this course right here is so incredible, because this is going to break down all the high performance habits in great detail. So this is, let me go back. Courses. I'm going to drop the link in here too. If you have starter plan, you'll be able to watch this. All right, then I'm going to go back to the growth group. Stop sharing, and I'm going back to the growth group. All right, so this course is incredible, because seeking clarity and integrating it is like, it's a two-step thing. So you can seek clarity all day long, but if you don't know how to integrate the new insights that you have, that you're pulling in, then it's going to be really challenging. It's going to be really challenging to make recalibration and course corrections. So seeking clarity, the big six is what I call it. The big six drivers for building clarity is understanding your priorities, understanding your purpose, understanding your opportunities, or kind of like your kryptonite, the things that you're not very good at and you want to really understand, just knowing what those things are so that you can get better at those every single week, and you can kind of integrate those opportunities into your development plan, which is something that I'd encourage everyone to have, like a development plan. Like, what am I learning? What am I growing in? What could I be doing this month? We're already through October. What can I learn this month that's going to help me in my life, my career, my relationships, and there's tons of courses in the platform to do that. But there's also, like, depending on what skills you want to learn, there's LinkedIn Learning, there's masterclass.com, there's coaches that offer tons of training. So just depending on what you want, and go find it and go get it. But those are really, like, critical things. So, okay, we have priorities, we have purpose, we have your opportunities. The fourth one is, like, how you identify, like, how do you want to show up in your seat? How do you want to show up on the camera? How do you want to show up when you walk in the door with your family? How do you want to show up when you walk in the door with your team? How do you want to meet and greet people, give them high fives? How do you want to live in this life? Identify your identity there, and that's a really important thing that we also teach for designers and creators. So that's one of the things. The other two things is how you want to interact with other people. Like, what does that look like? How do I want to interact? I want to be enthusiastic, passionate, empathetic, encouraging, supportive. What is your words? And you can write them in your notes here just to kind of capture it. How do you want to do that? And then the last one for building clarity and seeking clarity is understanding and really being able to articulate what success looks like. It sometimes can be hard to know this, but if you ask yourself a question in the beginning of a meeting or before you even wake up, like what success look like for this day, and then jotting that down and journaling about it, it can really help bring out the best in you so that you can really have a vision and anticipate and kind of have a little bit more intention about where it is that you want to go and what success looks like for that. You know, success for this product was like, okay, we want to build a connected platform, an all-in-one platform that really connects to the biggest parts of growth in somebody's life. They need to be able to reflect. They need to be able to get motivation and growth, like daily fire and courses and content. They need to be able to journal and do life scores so that they can kind of understand where they're at so they can course correct where they need to go. They can also do challenges because sometimes we just need a social like team and some motivation to do things together and then go through these challenges as a group. You know, or it's like community. Well, what can we do to build community? So all these different aspects were based on lots of research, lots of understanding of what was going to be needed to really build a great personal development app, and that's what we had. So we had clarity around what that was. Now the second part of this integration, okay, I'm integrating things. Integration is just a way for you to try new things. Something's not working for you, what can you do to try new things? And building in a routine every week. So like, okay, yeah, Thursdays I'm going to do a presentation. Thursdays I'm going to host this meeting with my team. What can I do to prepare for that meeting, and how can I integrate the things that I have clarity around so I can make sure that I'm moving these things forward? So that's why like those routines are things that I just always connect with every single week. So important. I hope this is helpful so far. We're going to move on to the next one. If you have any questions so far, please feel free to chat in the channel. Yeah, absolutely. When you're making new goals, Audrey, absolutely, it kind of hits you. You're like, I need to learn that. And I was just doing that this week at a meeting today where I was talking about like I'm trying to get better at video editing. And I make videos all the time, but there's a whole nother level of video storytelling that I just don't want to outsource. I want to be able to do it myself. So I'm learning how to break down and deconstruct a really good training video, even though I've been making training videos for like 8 years, but I still want to get better at it. So like you learn all these things. It's just so much fun. All right, the next one, advancing priorities and relationships with tools, people, and tactics. All right, so your priorities, the things that you had clarity that I was just calling out, you needed that, you know, understand your priorities. So every week you might have new priorities that come. You might have a manager that gives you new priorities as well, like every single week. But not knowing your priorities is probably could be one of the biggest blockers of advancement. Is if you don't know what's important and you're working on things that aren't important, then you might be wasting a lot of time, and that's not something you want to be doing. So if you know what your priorities are, then you can build systems and routines to be able to advance them forward. So what this looks like is you have 3 big projects, you know, whatever the projects are, it could be anything. You have 3 big projects coming up in November. All right. Now I have these 3 big projects coming up in November. Let me just write down the 3 on a piece of paper, and then underneath each of those 3 projects, I'm going to write 5 of my most needle moving things that I need to finish in order for this to advance. So instead of writing down the very small, tedious actions that you could do, I want you to think about, and I call this homework assignment, it's like 3 big rocks. Instead of, you know, the big 6, this is the 3 big rocks. So you have 3 projects, you list them out, and then under each of those projects, you have 5 of the most like the biggest things that you can accomplish on that project. And then, but you still got to write it in a way where it's achievable. Like if you write something that it's going to take you a year to do, that might not, you don't necessarily want to go down that route. So like for a project, you'd have those things out and you would just write out those things. And then that's like kind of like journaling and getting super intentional about the things that you need to really advance forward. This is something that I also have this worksheet. If you do reach out to me, I'll send you this PDF, and it's also going to go into my playbook as well. And it's a worksheet that I just use all the time. When I really need a boost and I really need a jump start on something. And this is super helpful for an advancement of your priorities. But the second part of this is the relationship you have with tools, people, and tactics. Now, I have a section where I teach a lot about tools because, I'm a product designer and product maker. I work with a lot of tools, and a lot of the tools and technology kind of are all interconnected. But what I've learned is that even in your family life, in your team life, if you're using a lot of tools that don't necessarily like connect with each other, and you're using those tools differently with every individual you work with, there can be a lot of fragmentation that you experience. So let's just say, if you're working with a team or your family, choose one way of communicating back and forth with them, and then maybe a secondary for certain situations if you're not close together. So like, okay, if we're in the same house, we're going to, verbally talk. If we're not in the same house, or we need to follow up with something, maybe we'll use Discord, or we'll use Slack, or we'll use like a chat system or iMessage, whatever it is. You don't want to intertwine like more than like 3 or 4 of these things, because it starts to get fragmented of like, oh, what style of communication am I going to use to do this? So in team chat, we might use Slack for all of our asynchronous work, and we might only use email for like really like major things that need to be announced. Like, it's really important to know how you want to communicate, and that's why I think it's like, okay, what tools are we using? And then how do people want to engage with those tools, and how do we co-create and collaborate with those tools? And then what are the tactics, like the rituals, the routines, and the things that we do every week? So let me give you an example of this. So you have a big team, you have, or your family or whatever, like your project work that you're doing, and you're trying to kind of like initiate something new. Well, the first thing that could be really important is to set up a rhythm with your team. And that's a tactic to use, like setting up a rhythm with your company or your team. It's like, okay, when are we going to meet on this specific topic? When are we going to advance and show presentations or show advancements of this specific thing? So what I like to do on Monday, because Monday is kind of like, you had your weekend, you're coming in, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I got to do? What are my priorities? It's the most important thing. And then if you're with a team, okay, you list out what the priorities are. Everybody takes their turn. We do this in our Monday calls for product and design at Growth Day. What are our, work priorities for the week? And then you connect with people, but that's creating a routine. It's creating a ritual for the team to be able to expect it, so they can come in and get a little prepared. Oh, what's Drew going to ask? What's Lauren going to ask for? What's this designer going to ask for? What's this designer going to ask for? And then you can already start to anticipate what they're going to need, so that you can come prepared for those sessions and prepare them, help them, support them. Same thing goes for your family. Like, oh, every Friday night we do this dinner party, or every Wednesday we have this class assignment that we do, and we want to be able to study with our kid to help them. Okay, got it. Trigger. That's a routine. We're going to do that every week. So what can I do to prepare for that, like 1 or 2 days in advance? This is what I'm talking about, connecting tools, people, and tactics, because all of these things are connected. And if you can just think about how they're kind of connected on the line, then you can start preparing along the way. I hope that's making sense, because that is something that once you kind of can see how all these things are connected, you can advance things a lot faster when you see how they're kind of integrated. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, the next one. Skill build together, coach, teach, feedback. So this kind of goes back into like another big giant advancement for routines is knowing that we're all learning together. Even if you're like an expert, you're head of your industry, whatever, you're still learning, you're still growing. Like we're all here to grow today. We're all in a growth group. Growth groups are all about learning. But the thing is, like, just having the mindset, just switching that mindset just a tad bit when you feel like you're not very good at something, and you feel like you're struggling, you feel like you're a novice, you feel like you're, taking a long time to learn something. One, give yourself some grace. It is completely okay to not be an expert in everything. But like Brendan always says, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know how to go figure it out. And you got to be able to go in and go figure it out and be okay with learning and growing and doing that. And I think the key for this is to really, it goes back to when we're talking about clarity and getting priorities and understanding what you need to do. And like Audrey was saying, like, well, when she's writing goals, she starts figuring out, I need to learn some skills about those things, right? That's super awareness. It's great. But the thing is, like, when you're together and you're learning, there's opportunities there to coach each other, to teach each other, to give feedback to each other about the things that you're learning and growing in. That way, it's a more holistic approach to that. We're all people. We're humans. We're trying to evolve. We're trying to develop. We care about each other, and just being open to the fact that after I learn what I'm going to try to learn and master, there's going to be other people coming up behind you that are going to want to learn the same thing. They're going to want to develop. And if you're in a industry or in a field, you'll have an opportunity to help the upcoming creators and the upcoming makers in your field learn what you learned. And being a coach or being a teacher and helping them, that's going to help you learn your craft even better when you can give back and you can help them understand, like, oh, what did you go through? But not saying it in a way that's like, this is the way, this is how you do it. It's more like, this is what I learned about this situation, and, and then being able to share it back. And I think it's just a beautiful thing to integrate these, like, this togetherness and this coaching, teaching, and feedback mechanism that you can do every single week. It's super important. Now, Audrey had a question here, which I think is a really, really great question. Do I recommend to learn in a group of people about the new skill instead of doing it alone? I think it needs to be both. I think there needs to be time, block time, when you have quiet time to go learn and practice the thing. And I think just like, when I play baseball, when I played football and sports, or now I'm learning soccer with my wife, who was like an amazing soccer player, I need to learn those skills. I need to learn them by myself, but then I'll come together and have practice as a team. And I think practice is kind of like when you do it as a team. And skill building and learning and growing, sometimes you do need to put on the headphones, go into a quiet place, watch, pause, play. Watch, pause, play. And you're just doing that over and over and over. And I've watched hundreds and hundreds of tutorials on lynda.com when I was first learning Illustrator, when I was first learning Photoshop, when I was first learning like product management, when I was first learning design management, when I was first learning like design operations, all these things. You find ways to do it all. But you do need that block time, and that goes back into the systems and routines. Like, what are your systems and routines? Do you have block time right now where you're learning every single day? Because learning once a week about something you really care about and that you have intrinsic motivation, that feeling in your heart that I would much rather knowing this skill, and I would much rather doing this sort of thing for a living or for my life, or than this thing over here. That's that intrinsic motivation that you really need to connect to. And from a high performance habits perspective, that would be necessity. You need necessity. And if you're going back into watching the high performance habits builder course, necessity is a chapter about helping you find your purpose and knowing, like, how am I going to get motivated about the things that I want to do every day? What's going to be my intrinsic motivation? And for me, for the longest time, it's been my family, like supporting my family and helping them feel like they know, so that they feel supported and all the things that they want to do. Like, I get fired up knowing that I can go in and do something about that and support them. Yeah, right on. Cool. Hope that was helpful, Audrey. I'm going to keep going to implementation. So after you've kind of like gone through, this is another one. After you've gone through like understanding, okay, I need skills, I need to do this as my team, my coach, in my my kind of my family life, my team life, how am I learning and growing? Now we need to really kind of kick it into high gear around your implementation of that new skill, and the execution of that new skill. Implementation is like you're trying it, you're practicing it, you're starting to do it because you are practicing and learning. But now you have to shift into this mode where you're executing on a consistent basis. And execution has different levels, right? You have, maybe beginner level, you're executing it, but you're still getting it done, but you're maybe not mastering what it is that you're doing. And understanding what this means to you, it takes time, but being aware of like, oh, well, how am I implementing the new things that I learned? How am I implementing the things that I'm learning from my coworkers and my teams, and the behavior that I'm modeling? How am I implementing things? And then execution is like the actual like your craft. Whether it's writing, communicating, launching books, building the things, starting new programs. Like, I know that we have a lot of different people in this growth group today that are all different careers, and you could probably write in here really quick and write like your different role or responsibility if you're open to sharing it, because all of us, and just so you're aware, all of us have different roles and responsibilities in our companies and our organizations. But think about what would elevate your execution of your job, of your role. Teacher, scholar, author, yeah, absolutely. So different things. I would call myself like a teacher. I would call myself a product designer, and I would call myself a product thinker. I would also, say that I'm just a goofy guy. Like, that's just who I am. But I still want to execute the things to the ultimate best level that I possibly can, because I love that journey of getting something better and better and better and better. It just like excites me. And I want you to just think about like, well, what could you do to execute the things that you do on a regular basis every single day, every single week, every single month? What are those things? And then start reflecting back and saying like, okay, I think I could do this a little bit better. I think I could do this a little bit better. And what are those things? And break it down, learning the skills, and start building in this new implementation and execution excellent system. You could do this with your plan inside of GrowthDay. So if you go back into your plan and you're trying to think, well, like, okay, these are the 4 or 5 things that I do every single week. I make this presentation, I do this status update, I do this, I have to go through all my customers or my clients or my friends or whatever it is that you care about, what is that you're doing, and thinking about, well, these are the things I do every week. What could I do to elevate it? What could I do to make it better? What could I do? And just having that self, and then that's when you could shift over into the journal, right? You journal about it. You think about like, okay, this is how I'm showing up, but what could I do to show up 10 times better for my friends, for my family, for my team, whatever it is that you're pursuing, which is totally fine. It could be anything. But thinking about what those things are and then building systems around it. The last one about routines is coming back in and building what I call like design clarity, design energy, design productivity, design impact, purpose, influence, and courage. I know, a mouthful of a lot of different keywords here. So design clarity. Design clarity is something that, taking off of, yes, you need personal clarity, but for the things that you're doing in your career, in your life, and the things that you care about deeply, the projects, the relationships, do you have design clarity around how you're going to plan it out, build it up, share it with your friends, execute it, communicate it, collaborate around it? Design clarity is about helping build like visual clarity around the thing that you're trying to accomplish, or the thing that you're trying, whatever it is, the project. It's not just about like, I need to ship this new project, or I need to build this new or ship this new book, or I need to, get a raise in my for my job. Design clarity is helping you understand, well, what's the map to get there? Like, what is the thing that you're going to do, and what does it look like, and how can it be communicated? How can it be articulated? How can you raise, when somebody looks at it, how can you like just tap into showing it and talking about it and communicating it so everybody understands on your team what it is that you're building and why it is that you're building it? I like, whenever I sense even in my current team, even here at GrowthDay, whenever I sense that an engineer or somebody else doesn't understand what it is they're building or why it's important, that means they need more design clarity. So it doesn't mean like we scold the team and you didn't do this. It means, how can we elevate the group? How can we elevate the group and build more clarity around the artifacts that we create, around the communication that we create, around the artifacts, like, the requirement stocks or the sheets that we use? How can we elevate those things to be able to hand them in a way that's going to be easier to read, easier to understand? And the same thing goes for anything that you do in your projects. You want to create the design clarity, because it's not about like, oh, my team doesn't understand what I'm trying to build. It's that my team needs more information. They need to understand it. And that could be the system that you put in place that has one extra meeting a week. That in that meeting, it's going to be to talk about this specific thing. I mean, you get to design all those things, but it's like understanding what those things are. Then coming into the energy. Like, I'm a very energetic person, and I really care deeply about energy, because energy is like, you can get energy drained. You can increase your energy from the interactions that you have with other people. And design energy is like, well, I need to be able to stay sharp, focused, and on point with the things that are most important in my life. Like, I want to feel that every day. I don't want to like have off days where like one day I'm super like high on life, and the next day I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't like going into those places. So what do I need to be able to maintain that? I need my health. I need my fitness. I need my wellness. I need my my mind and my mind and spirit to be aligned, and I need to be living a congruent life with, what I set up when I was talking about clarity, how I want to show up, how I want to interact, and how I want to connect to the success that I know I can have in my life if I connect to it. So design energy is like designing the rituals and routines in your life to make sure that they are supporting you, like not taking off a wellness day, because wellness day is every day. Taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. Like, I'm going to do some meditation today. I'm not going to skip it because I know it's a really important thing that gives me energy. I'm not going to skip a workout because I know that gives me energy. I'm not going to skip a one-on-one with my teammate because I know that it's important to build clarity. And it also, if I don't show up for my teammate, then it could cause a kind of a ripple effect that could cause them problems or challenges and struggles. So thinking about all these things as you go through, like design energy is so important. Like, I have a huge program on all these things, but I'm just kind of giving you a taste because these are these rituals and routines that I follow every single week. All right, productivity, right? Design productivity is another thing. Like, what are all the systems and rituals and routines that you have inside your company and your business and inside your practices that help you move fast, that help you get things and execute faster? This could be a tool that you didn't even know existed that could help you manage something really fast. This could be, block time, let's go. That's exactly right. So those things help you with productivity. You focus time to be able to go and execute the thing. I won't spend much time on productivity. It's like pretty well known. Setting up block time is a really powerful thing, but if you haven't really mastered doing that yet, the first thing that I would do is just get a piece of paper, boom, and draw out Monday through Sunday, and next week, write out everything you do on Monday, everything you do on Tuesday, everything you do on Wednesday, and just keep going through the list. After you go through the list, circle the things, like the events that were most impactful and where you actually got stuff done. Then you want to have an evaluation of that week and think about, wow, I spent a lot of time here, or I spent a lot of time in some other place that maybe you shouldn't have been spending time on. Then you want to be able to go into the following week and just drag a big giant calendar block over the time that you have open. And if you don't have these available, then you need to kind of rethink your calendar. And that could be like, literally, you could get a coaching session, or you could, there's other ways to do it. I have a template also for this if you need a little template. But literally, just straight up, Monday through Sunday, document, do an audit of your system, and then start going back in and saying, like, block time. You need at least 2 to 3, I'm going to say it's 2 to 3 hour sessions a week. You need at least 2 or 3, and that's not that much time if you think about it. Like, Monday through Friday, I need 2 to 3 hours where I'm getting undisturbed and I can focus on anything that I want to focus on, and I'm going to set up that time. That's what I would encourage. And I encourage designers to do that, but I think even if you're not a designer, you need that sense of like time where you can go deep into something, and then you put in your highest priority, your top 3 priorities of the day in sort of those buckets, and then you just finish them, and then you have the other time for your meetings and your team time that helps support their initiatives and what they're doing and what they need to achieve, and they're, you know, obtaining, you're sharing knowledge throughout all these things. So super important stuff. All right, let me go back. All right, impact. Design impact is about like benchmarking your business success and what you're doing. I know we have 3 minutes left, so I'm gonna go really fast. And you know, I talked a lot about these routines and these things, and I'm gonna just kind of pause and just kind of open it up. If anybody wants to, you know, ask any final questions, or if anybody wants to come up and, like, if there's one thing that you took away from today that was helpful and supportive, something that you want to like try to practice or try to get more awareness for, I'd love to hear it before we end the call. We have 2 minutes and 40 seconds. But these last things that I put in the notes around rituals, go back this week, this next week, and think about your daily rituals, your weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually rituals. For yourself, think about the ones that you have for your team, and think about the ones you have for your company. And what I want you to do is just start documenting what these things are, so that when you go back in and you go back through your when you start going back through your rituals and your routines that you create in your life and your team and your business, I want you to think about what could make these better, what could elevate these experiences. And if you don't have these documented and you don't have these like displayed, then it's going to be harder for you to kind of like course correct if you can make them any better. So I'm going to bring Audrey up really quick. And Audrey, tell me what you're thinking. Would love to hear from you. Audrey's going to come up. You're muted, but unmute. And
yeah, so thank you so much for the session. So the advancing priorities, you talked about the 3 projects and the 5 main moving needle actions were fantastic. And for the routine, I've created this quite a while ago, but for me, and it's really life-changing. So if people are reluctant to do so, step by step, tiny step by tiny step, but it's very key to go through this, and you transform your life.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Thanks, Audrey. Like it is kind of, it's wild to see how further you can advance things when you make, you know, small adjustments to your schedule and to your calendar. It just brings just that little bit more intention that you need to start making, you know, using your time in a way that serves you. And serving, you know, knowing, getting incredible clarity around what's important to you, and then start practicing these things inside of your block time. Whew, you can get so much more stuff done. People are asking me all the time, like, how do you get so much stuff done? I'm like, just use my block times, and I set my priorities up, and it seems to work for a lot of people. It's worked for me and worked magic for me, and I learned it and mastered it with going through Brennan's training and doing it even more. But like, everybody is always talking about those productivity hacks. Yeah. Any other final thoughts? Well, you know what? It's actually, we're just at time. You know, I hope you enjoyed it, and remember that you now have Growth Group mini players. So you could have been journaling through this whole thing. You could have been planning, but I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on another Growth Group. I'll see y'all later.